Good morning, it's day 4 of the X-Pyr 2018. We're on the Col d'Azay, just after turn point 5 at the Pic de Bigorre. We can see Val-Louron from where we're standing, and I would like to give you an update on day 3, which was another action-packed day. There were some big highs and a few small lows for quite a few pilots, and I'll go through what we learnt on the day. Unfortunately, 2 announcements from the outset, which is that Fons de Loew and Patrick Sieber have both retired from the race. Now, unlike the X-Alps, we don't have eliminations in the X-Pyr. So it's not like they're having to try and leapfrog each other at the back. Everybody gets an equal chance to try and complete the race. So we don't have any eliminations. So the people just keep going, but unfortunately that means that sometimes people have to retire for various reasons. So the news at the front was that Maura hiked up to turn point 5 yesterday at Bigorre, and then managed to fly from a ski resort at Val-Louron, and pretty much flew most of the day. By the evening he'd passed the turn point 6 at Pedraforca and was still going. He's landed beyond Pedraforca in Catalonia. And stay tuned all today, because the prediction is that Maura will get a goal today or this evening, and if not, then it'll be tomorrow morning first thing. So chasing him is Maxime Pinot, who is currently between turn point 5 and 6. He had quite a hard day yesterday, but made good progress, and his supporting team certainly rooting for him pretty well. Yesterday at the close of play, the third person was Edouard Garza, who actually flew over turn point 5. He had an absolutely stonking day. He has hardly walked. He's flown a huge amount in this race and is looking good, feeling fit. Every time we bumped into him yesterday, he had a big smile on his face, and he's pretty happy. Nelson de Freeman arrived at the col where we are now at just before 10 o'clock. He had to tag the turn point 5 and then had to walk up the road, and he got here with minutes to spare before the time when they have to, when it's the rest period that they have to take every night. Cyriac Wagner is currently between 4 and 5. He was flying well yesterday afternoon, but then had to land, and so we're hoping that he'll pass turn point 5 today. Stadler Meyer had a blinding day yesterday. He has come from quite far behind, made massive progress yesterday. He had a really good big distance day, and he's actually at turn point 5 at the moment, so he's good to go for turn point 6. Adrian Keller hiked up Peña Montanesa yesterday morning, which was a big hike. And then he had to wait for good conditions, and the wait was quite frustrating for him. He had a big wait the day before, but it paid off. Yesterday he found the conditions extremely turbulent, and he decided to go for the safe option and land lower down, which has been a cause of frustration for him, because obviously overall he's lost quite a lot of altitude in comparison to his colleagues who've landed quite high and have been able to have a good start this morning. So, some news on other pilots, not in any order. So, Fabian Umbricht had an impressive hike and then a very challenging flight. He's made good progress, and his supporter reports that the highlight of the day that he was reunited with Hayden Gray and Steve Bramfitt. So the terrific threesome were back together, the Three Musketeers. Unfortunately, they lost Steve a little bit along the way, but they did get to be reunited and do part of the journey together. So Hayden Gray forgot his sunscreen yesterday. He's got a real burnt nose, but otherwise he's fine physically. He was struggling a little bit yesterday. He hiked up and bombed out 3 times, but then he had a 6-hour flight. He's made good progress, and he's landed after Taubon at turn point 4. He was with Steve and with Fabian for a while. Steve had lots of flights, but then landed sooner than he hoped, which he was pretty much very disappointed by. He hiked back up in the afternoon, hoping to make progress, but the flight that he hoped to get didn't work out. So today he's got a long hike up to a possible takeoff. So he'll be a little bit delayed today. Samuel Vuopio has been flying really well, making good progress, flying in conditions that were quite challenging. But unfortunately his live tracker didn't work yesterday afternoon, and neither did his spot, causing a lot of consternation and worry for his family and friends and his supporters, to the extent that in the end they called 122. Thankfully, Sam was able to phone the family and reassure everybody that it was absolutely fine, so they could cancel the rescue services, and he's absolutely fine and in good shape. And the good news is, in 8th place, he is the top rookie. So Antonio Ramos was flying on home turf. He always said he would take the southern route. He's a pilot from Jaca in Spain, and he wanted to fly home. He wanted to actually go past all the sites that he normally flies, and he did that yesterday. So he flew from Ori, turn point 2, to the Midi de Osso, the turn point 3, passing by all his local sites. He's going strong, and his supporter says he's feeling really good. Gerald Kernstock, I can't give you news about his flight, but his supporters had a real big problem with the car, and unfortunately at the moment it's in the workshop being fixed, so they're having a little bit of logistical problems. So if you see not much happening on the live tracking, it's because they're having problems actually getting to them. Well, he has 2 supporters, and actually supplying them, so they've got a little bit of a delay just because of logistical problems. Lucas Turney had a bit of an epic yesterday. He hiked up and he assumed that he was flying into a really good place, and he did what you do in the Alps, which is try and work your way up a mountain. Unfortunately, he hit massive sink and bombed. He managed to land relatively high and hiked to another launch, relaunched, but unfortunately had a big collapse as he was taking off. He's fine physically, he's bruised and he's a bit cut. They thought at first that he might have a broken toe. He doesn't. But they needed to check over his glider, and that was going to determine if he could continue with the race. They managed to do that at a refuge. The glider has not a blemish on it, not a line is damaged. His glider is absolutely fine. His harness is destroyed. It's completely unusable. Thankfully, he's been able to borrow Martin Lifka's harness, his supporter, and he's currently hiking. He's back in the race, and they're good to go and carry on. Dora Göksel from Turkey, so from Team Turkey, was doing really well yesterday. He started around turn point 2, managed to fly across to turn point 3, but unfortunately, like Felix Rodriguez the day before, infringed National Park airspace, and he's been given a 48-hour penalty. So he'll have to sit that out now, so we won't be seeing him progressing again for another couple of days. Willie Cannell from the US launched early, but couldn't get up, but he managed to get across the valley from where he was, landed high, so was in a good position to take off again. And he managed to fly to turn point 3 and then encountered extremely high valley winds. And he did a tricky but safe landing on a road. We will bring you a video of that landing on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel. But he basically had to land it sort of side on a road, and he clipped the top of his wing on a tree. So in order to get that out, they had to actually detach the stabilo line, then reattach it, which obviously delayed him somewhat. He then had to walk across the tunnel, because obviously the athletes are not allowed to walk through any tunnels. There are 2 main tunnels that go on the north-south roads here, Vieja and Biesa, and he went across the tunnel, and he described having to do a cliff scramble. And he said he didn't dare look down, so it sounds pretty scary. The team's reporting that their spirits are really high. He's feeling physically good. They're really enjoying the race, and they're good to go today. News from Wesley Murch. He's got really sore feet. He's suffering with blisters, and he had his day didn't start off too bad. He got from turn point 2 to turn point 3. He landed high, and unfortunately his supporters couldn't get to him, so he was without water for 5 hours, at which point he decided that for safety he had to walk down. Now obviously that's a difficult decision for any athlete, because once you're high and you've got the potential to fly, the last thing you want to do is use up that height by having to walk down. It was the only thing really that realistically and safely they could do, so he hiked down 2 hours, but that meant that he was without fluids for 7 hours, and he's had to take, well, some rest tonight, so they had a lie-in this morning to let him recuperate. So he's having a pretty physically challenging time at the moment. Ali Andrews from Wales started before turn point 2 yesterday, so he hiked up in the morning and was good to go, and has flown a blinder. He flew all the way past turn point 3 and is currently on his way to turn point 4. Okay, that's about all the news that we can bring you on the pilots. We will bring you other news as we get it today. We are not going to progress further to this point at the moment. We are going to head back and try and catch up with as many pilots who are coming towards turn point 4 and 5, and hope to meet them and interview them and report on them. The weather for today is that there may be some rain coming in from the west. We're seeing high cloud already developing around here. We woke up to a cloudless sky this morning. I can see cumulus forming in the distance towards the next waypoint. The wind will be west-northwest at 2,500 metres, approximately 10 to 16 miles an hour, and thermal tops are predicted to be between 2,500 and 3,000 metres. Yesterday we had some live tracking issues because this race has turned out to be extremely popular, and we had so many people logging in and trying to follow the live tracking that the system was a little bit overwhelmed. We've hopefully resolved that overnight. Manolis is working on it, and so hopefully today we will have better coverage and you can follow the race live. If you want to follow us, check us out on the X-Pyr Facebook page, on x-pyr.com, and on our YouTube channel and Vimeo channel. So stay tuned, because this evening Mawa might get to go.